Hi everyone, John Daly here. It's been a little bit since I've done an episode here, so I kind of want to reply to a couple of the questions that I've gotten. And one was from a friend of mine just talking about stress. And I kind of know what she's going through regarding schooling, but it applies to many things, the things that I'll speak about. So stress in a very short term is, let's say, cortisol levels increasing in our bodies. This is a hormone that makes us feel more energized, more tight, and commonly it was used as the fight or flight response, or what we would do to engage ourselves if we were attacked by a predator in the wild. Now what's happening in our culture, and it's quite common by a lot of these stiff necks that we see people have and really tight joints, is that this response is being activated over and over and over again during the day. So what I want to introduce here is a concept of the relaxation response, or how we kind of go back to setting ourselves to a level playing field. So we keep having these high cortisol levels, which are created by our adrenal glands, these cortisols. And what this does is it regulates our blood pressure. So commonly people with a lot of stress have high elevated blood pressure. But as well, it also regulates how we modify glucose. So it affects our pancreas. And it also affects even our circadian rhythm and our sleep patterns. So being in a grounded state several times a day and making sure we are in this state can really help us in the long term, not only with health, but with one thing, especially given the winter time, with our immunity. We are more immune to pathogens when we are balanced. So I like that term. It's something that I think everyone should have in their vocabulary, and that is grounded and balanced. So I want to introduce a few exercises that are quite easy to do around the house, wherever you are, to negate stress. So the first one is standing still, finding a balanced posture, and slowing your breath. Now we've all heard in many different meditations to follow the breath and to observe it. And ideally, I think that's an amazing thing for a variety of reasons, from emotional well-being to mental well-being to spiritual well-being. But for stress reduction, I just want to introduce being aware of it through consciously slowing the breath. So if we have more of an activity slowing the breath, we have to be there, and it keeps us a bit more active. If we just observe the breath, it's very easy to go into meandering, go into daydreaming. So slowing the breath is what I want to introduce here. And what this does is, I want to introduce the topic of the elements. And I've talked about this before in prior videos, but us observing the breath is, let's say, taking in the wind, taking in the air element. So that's one way to reduce stress. Another is to find the primordial essence of fire. Let's say lighting a candle. Many of us find that very almost majestic, very magical to be around. And it can incite a lot of inspiration and even creativity in us. So that's another method for stress reduction. Another, which I think is quite beautiful, is finding the earth element. And I quite like the yogic pose, the child's pose. And that's essentially going down on your knees and placing your head, your forehead, on the earth. And what this does is basically get us back into the flow. We get back into a rhythm when we're in our body. Because stress is basically, we're outside of ourselves. We're thinking about something, we're not clear about what we're doing, etc., etc., etc. And that leads to anxiety, stress, grief, anything you can name. Which brings on a very great point. Fantastic method for stress reduction is being aware of why you are feeling stressed. Being aware of what factors are placing you there, and ultimately what exactly you are feeling. Is it anxiety? Is it grief? Is it guilt over something you've done? Is it fear for something that's to occur in the future? Being clear about what it is before applying these techniques can really, really help. And obviously that'll lead to just a greater understanding of who you are. And another one that I quite like using is finding the water element. And ideally jumping into a very cold lake will get you there very quickly, get you back into paying attention to your body, what is real in that moment. But just taking a cold shower, or if you can't do that, just throw some cold water in your face. Excellent stuff. That'll get you really clear very quickly. Now, one exercise that I use on a regular basis, and you can find in small spaces or use in small spaces, is the rebounder. Now, I'm a big fan of this because it can be used by a lot of people with less mobility. And what this does basically is shake our cells. It shakes the toxins out and reoxygenates them on the negative gravity and increased gravity pressure. So pretty much anything can be done here. If you have reduced mobility, you can buy ones with little arms, and you pretty much hold on to that while you shake. And this causes very good lactic acid movement. If you have done really strenuous workouts, you can feel really tightness in your joints, and this moves the lactic acid throughout the body, as well as the lymphatic fluid, which basically needs a pump. If you're living sedentary lifestyles, you have a lot of this that needs to be drained. So fantastic exercise, really good on the joints, so you won't have any stress later on in life, or hopefully very little. Now, these are things that can be applied very easily. So, stress, not good. I wish you all the best, and have a wonderful start of the winter. Take care.